There and Hack Again. Actual Play Report, Session 3, March 1st, 2024. I've been slow to update this journal of our latest adventure. To be honest, I've been struggling with my thoughts and feelings and how to express them. I'm all at once overjoyed and yet also lost. Fulfilled, but somehow empty. I'm adrift, but I've been found. I'm getting ahead of myself. It turns out the predicted sequence of events in my last entry was a bit premature. Jayola was feeling much better for the day's rest, but was still a bit weak and in recovery mode, so we convinced her to rest a bit more as we set about the burial of the troll Jumbo. Rainier kept helpfully offering to practice her earth-moving spell to try and help with the process, but our belief is that spell is unpredictable at best, so we dug that giant grave the old-fashioned way. This took a while. We were so engrossed in our labors that we failed to notice a pair of travelers approaching the camp until they were right on top of us. Fortunately, they were friendly. Okay, I'm underselling things quite a bit here. More than friendly, they were literally family. The tall human I did not recognize and jumped up with a start, hand on the hilt of my sword, only to be frozen by the realization that indeed I did recognize the human's dwarven companion. Izzy, you're alive! Is maybe what I stammered. To be honest, this reunion is a bit of a blur. See, Izzy is my twin sibling, though I am the elder by almost 5 minutes. Though Izzy and I were once brothers, a while back she made it clear that her true self was a she and not a he, and while I don't understand these feelings personally, I love my sister, and I never had any qualms supporting her. I fear my failure to mention that she and I were both taken by the orcs at the same time, and my worries that she was gone forever, killed or worse by our savage captors, may be seen as some sort of embarrassment about her or something. I don't know, people get weird sometimes when she speaks with her low baritone through her very full beard, though, to be fair, many dwarves who traditionally were female also have quite impressive beards. It's a dwarf thing, after all. But that isn't it at all. I did encourage my new traveling companions to track the orcs and try to seek help dealing with them. I didn't mention that, in my heart of hearts, I was hoping against hope that Izzy still lived, and that we might find her and rescue her. I didn't want my new friends to feel I was obligating them to save my family member at their own peril, even though I kind of was, or at least planned to. So her sudden arrival, and just knowing she was alive and safe, created an emotional tsunami of sorts. I've been in a bit of a fugue state since we were reunited. I hope she doesn't think my awkwardness is directed at her. Izzy and Agrius told a similar tale to ours, how, presumably the same, 2 dragons had attacked their wagon train, most of the orcs and other prisoners were killed, and they escaped. They were pursued and attacked by wolves, who were seemingly directed by an orc shaman, but both those threats were last seen a couple days prior. At any rate, after we finished burying Jumbo and setting our affairs in order, we decided to carry on with the plan of seeking out the hidden elven forest, and scouting the orcs, and perhaps dealing with them. We set out along the path Jumbo had presented us, which would take us past the sneaky troll fruit grove once again, but this time there was evidence of recent troll activity, and by evidence of recent troll activity, I mean a wooden cage with a halfling inside with a small pile of troll fruit at his tightly bound feet. "Please," he cried out, "get me out of here." Seeing no evidence of immediate threats, troll or otherwise, we smashed the crude cage and cut him free of his bindings. "Gee, thanks. My name's Marmaduke, and I live in an old mine nearby. Could you take me home?" is more or less what he said, and of course we agreed. Now, apologies if my descriptions and depictions are rudimentary. Please recall I was, and still am, to be honest, wrestling with some serious emotions. We escorted the young man back to his people. Uncle Rupert met us and chided the youngster for his foolhardiness and thanked us for freeing the lad. He offered us some refreshment and a bit of light gear replacement, a halfling bow for our halfling hunter who had been relying on somewhat ineffectually throwing rocks at this point, and told us how they came to be in this predicament. Many trolls frequent the grove of troll fruit, but 3 young males in particular have decided to extort the halfling population into working this ancient mine, once extracting garnets, now mostly just some veins of iron ore, and making tools for the trolls to use. If the halflings fail to meet their demands, the trolls descend to the depths of the mines to seek out and crush any poor soul too slow or slow-witted to hide. It was decided that the proper thing to do would be to try to deal with these trolls. We guessed correctly that the trolls would come looking for their free dinner, and we crafted a hasty plan to deal with that. Hoping for only one troll, we got two instead, and upon their sighting by the halfling scouts, the signal to hide in the small chambers down below, out of reach of any but the most determined troll, went out to the group. Rainier and I hid in one of the rooms carved into the side of the open mining pit, along the only path down to the murky, water-filled depths at the bottom of the mine, where once upon a time an aggravated troll had slipped to his death, tumbling over the narrow path's edge to drown. While the rest of the party waited at the bottom as bait, and Giola the halfling danced about on the path, taunting the two trolls into chasing her, Rainier readied her magic rope, and I readied my dwarven stockiness for a flying crossbody takedown. On my advice, we waited for the first troll to pass by, and then, as the second appeared framed in our doorway, we struck. Rainier attempted to have the rope tangle itself around the ambling monster's feet, while I, tied to the window frame by another stout rope in case I succeeded in my task a little too well, leapt into the air to smash into the hopefully unsuspecting troll. The plan worked. Sort of. The magic rope let us down, but we were asking it to kill a troll, and maybe that is outside the parameters of what it is able to handle. I, however, pounced like a giant cat, or like a larger-than-average dwarf. Whatever. I hit the baddie broadside, and as he was doing a bit of tippy-tap to avoid the magic rope already, it was enough for both of us to go flying over the edge of the pathway, and for him to plummet to his death, while I bounced mostly harmlessly off the side of the wall, dangling from my rope. From there on, a full fight broke out with troll number one, though it didn't last very long. Highlights included me landing a decent slash and suffering a pretty savage blow in return, some arrows flying about that likely contributed to the creature's demise, but most memorably, the sudden appearance in our midst of a giant bear, roaring and slashing his mighty claws across the torso of the increasingly overwhelmed troll. It was over quickly. After my flying tackle, I added very little, but thankfully we all survived. It was rather surprising to see that our new druid friend had this ability, but a pleasant surprise. We decided to go to the grove during the coming daytime to hopefully take out the one remaining troll and give the halfling community time to regroup or relocate. Doing so led us once again into a cave network. Originally natural stone, but worked and enlarged. I guess this is what the gigantic iron tools the trolls made the halflings produce were for, and maybe a sign that more trolls might be planning on coming in the future. Inside, we found and decidedly avoided evidence of carrion crawler tubes, and eventually drew the attention of the sole troll, pacing agitatedly, waiting the turn of his now-dead mates. "Oi, come on over here and get some of this," I didn't say, and we tried to lure him out of the cave to the entrance where Rainier hoped to use her tremor spell to collapse the tunnels and trap him in the rubble. But though the earth did shake mightily, and we all fell prone briefly from it, the entrance was structurally sound, and it did not fail. This allowed the troll to charge out angrily, and in the battle I took another blow, which maybe explains why I can't really recall the details, but I know that once again our party prevailed with little difficulty, and all the trolls were dead. We returned to the halflings' home to let them know, and to rest up. Shortly we will resume our path westward, still seeking the elves and their forest, searching for clues to what it was that Roderick the Star Watcher was foretelling, hopefully finding and freeing the other poor souls trapped by those heartstones, but most importantly, trying not to take for granted my sister, who I'd feared was lost forever.